roll call. Mr. Dayton Flake. Present. Mr. Carson Flake.
I'm here.
Mr. Eldon Larson. Here. Myself, Chairman Norris here, and Miss Rhonda Roberson.
Here. Robertson.
Sorry. One of these days I'll get it right.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move to the invocation. Wait, the Pledge of Allegiance. Wait.
And approve the
Sorry. I screamed flying up. Approval of the agenda.
All right. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented with one change, though, to the date of the approval of the minutes. It states March 14th, 2020. Should be March 10th, 2020.
Okay. We want to second it? Okay.
All of my stuff says March 10th.
Online it does, but not on the official one out.
On the orange
Oh.
copy, yeah.
You take this
It
call.
just got fixed today. Some of you may have printed it out before it got fixed.
The one we had posted too.
All right.
Call for that, right?
Call for the vote. Dayton? Carson?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Okay. Now we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have any volunteers?
Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a volunteer for the invocation?
I'll do it. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity we have to meet here as a governing board to discuss the things for the school district. We ask you to bless us by Spirit, that we may know the things that we should do, that we may make good decisions that will benefit the school, the employees, and also the citizens of the community and the students. Please help us to know the things that will be in their best interest. And we thank you so much for the many things we've been blessed with. In my Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Now we'll move to the approval of the minutes.
All right. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the March 10th, 2020 regular meeting minutes with the one change that I've got about with what has me as
Voting twice or something. Yeah.
voting yes and abstaining on the February meeting minute.
March or February?
February.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to clear that up.
April 7th meeting.
And then also the approval of the April 7th, 2020 special meeting minutes as they are presented.
I'll second it.
Okay. Call for the vote. Carson?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Eldon? Yep. Dayton? Rhonda?
Yes.
And now we're moving to the superintendent's report.
Right. As part of your backup, you have some current events and updates that I provided to you in writing. I can review any of those verbally here with you tonight as well. And then I also wanted to reference, we received a letter from a community member, Bob Winter, today, who's done some work in regards to long-term planning with our budget that we can discuss here during my report. There's a lot going on with the COVID-19 situation in our district. We're doing some remote learning, instruction, meetings, things of that nature. We do have some essential workers coming in to do their work here on campus still in a limited situation. We're still providing professional development for employees and things of that nature. We're still providing a lunch program. We are, and breakfast for students from 10 to 12.
And that's being funded by the state, correct?
Federal, yes. It's a federal program. It's reimbursed through them. So, and it's at no cost to anyone who's 18 years old or younger. So that's that program. We've adjusted, I mentioned this in my report, but we've adjusted some of the HVAC controls so that we're having some cost savings since the buildings are, for the most part, unoccupied. A lot of maintenance projects are being done, and I can talk about that as you have questions.
Did they start the roof?
Yes, it's going actually pretty well. We're having it inspected by a quality and assurance inspector. They break it up into quarters, and I'm getting those reports, and I can provide those to you where they take pictures and make sure that it's being constructed to standard, to the standards that are set forth.
At what stage are they right now?
Second. I've received 2.
Which is?
So, yeah, it's all been demolished. Some of the sheeting's been replaced, and I think they've started to make what they call weld, where they heat it up, and so it sticks. They call it welds on the report. So that it's moving along well. Mr. Miller may have seen it firsthand. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually was just up there right before the meeting. The pool side roof still has a little bit left to tear off, but they're not tearing it all off at one time. They're tearing it off and kind of building it as they go. So they've got everything laid down, probably 2/3 of the way up, and then they've got the top third or so to tear off. But they've finished most of it. It leaked. Yeah, the pool has had a lot of water in there. Luckily, it was just on tile. So other than the roof and the ceiling itself, it wasn't a problem.
That was a lot of rain.
That was a lot of rain.
Mr. Miller was going to touch base with Mr. Neal to get the air. We have some quality air handlers in there now to circulate that, help dry it out, since it leaked in that pool area. Because we don't want to have any mildew or whatever building up in there. So,
are they taking precautions in running whatever they have to over the top of what they've laid down?
I haven't noticed any problems. Like you would think you would see footsteps or anything like that, but I haven't noticed anything.
I wonder if they're covering it with something.
I typically only see it when they're done for the night, so I haven't watched them while they work. So they might be, but I'm not sure.
I made a mention in my report about we had ordered some ultraviolet lights to look at installing for our mail rooms to maybe help us sanitize items that are shipped to us. So that was Mr. Neal's idea. I want to make sure he got credit for that. And there's other things that are be reported by the principals that you might have questions on. I'll save some of those things for them. The county elections, I did make a note in here if you happen to see that. They've asked that we keep the old gym polling place open during primaries, which they've already had a Democratic primary in there, and I don't think they're doing a Republican primary here. But depending on what happens in November, keep it open. The board training that we had scheduled has been canceled until further notice. He, as the trainer, has agreed to reschedule that later when things hopefully settle down. Other items that I wanted to cover here, unless you have any questions to this point. And just interrupt me if you do. Okay.
I don't have any questions.
There's a report or some information that Mr. Bob Winter has provided to us, and we can review that at this time and look that over. And if you have any questions about it.
This is part of that committee that we.
Yeah, but the committee was the idea was set up prior to the COVID-19 situation.
That made it hard.
So I don't think, I think he's kind of gone through this by himself. Is that correct, Mr. Winter? So.
So what are you suggesting?
This is just
information
at this time. Yeah, you can tell there's some high dollar items on here, from roofing projects, from vehicles, HVAC controls, things like carpeting and painting. Information technology. Those are all high dollar things. There was a thought behind this that the district could go out to bond again this upcoming year, and that's not my recommendation at this point. But you need to know that it is something you can consider. A bond is a little different than an override. We did an override just this last year, so. And I can field any questions on that.
I think this is something we might want to let people look at, see what thoughts are, and get some input from the community.
Yeah. Mr. Winter, do you have anything you'd like to add to this, if you'll speak into the mic?
Allay the fears of the people I'm standing by, Mr. Hutchins. I was tested, and as the category came back, I wasn't aware of it. It's a very thorough test. It said grumpy old man. Anyway, yeah, the best laid plans, of course, got delayed by COVID-19. I do have a committee, but I went through and did this basically by observation and past knowledge. One of the things I think I want to get together with Mr. Mills on is looking at the difference in the roofing. We can put down the roofing like we have now. It's very expensive, and it'll have about a 30-year warranty on the roofing. Or we could go with the metal roofing that has a 90-year warranty and only costs us from $5,000 to $10,000 more. The cost of the roofing I put at 1.5. I figure the roofing is going to be about 1. But I think we have some understructure problems you always come across anytime you take the roofing apart. So I added 0.5, but I don't think it'll be that expensive. I see that at maybe $100,000 of replacing the substructures. We don't have leaks. We can't identify leaks currently, so that's something I think we need to add the extra money to. We need to consider, and Mr. Mills and I talked about this once before, limiting the amount of cars. From the school standpoint, it's probably cheaper to pay mileage. So we can cut back on the cars and put the extra money that we would have put in cars into some of the maintenance vehicles, which are also very old. So I've tried to take it through. I've put it down the best I can. Carpeting, I'm looking at that as a long-term replacement. The carpet in there, I talked to one of the cleaning crew, and he said he went to school here, and he says he doesn't know that they did a lot with that over the last 20, 30 years. So perhaps we could do that incrementally and save some of the bond money. Something to think about. IT, I talked to Mr. Gardner, and he has his own list, but he can't accurately determine when we'll have a generation change. Something we need to look at. From his standpoint, I think he should present his own. The bond issue, I think, is on us. we're going to have to make some kind of a decision very soon, because we can't get it onto the ballot if we wait more than a month or two. So we're probably going to have to go forward and start looking at getting someone to come in and give us some guesstimates and decide whether or not we're going to pursue it. If we want to pursue it, it's something I think we need to get on the ball with. The longer we wait, we might lose a year. That's a year of APS paying their 2/3 under our current structure. And if we take it out long-term, it's going to be approximately $13 a year for the individuals, or if we don't do a bond, it'll be approximately $3,000 to $4,000 per individual. So I don't think it'll be a hard thing to sell. And I'm going to follow this up, of course, as soon as we can have one-on-one meetings and meetings with Mr. Mills and Mr. Fields and narrow this down a little bit. But I think $3 million is a maximum that we're looking at, just from my guesses. But on heating and air conditioning, what is the system that we have now? Is it around 700,000 or so for both?
Yeah, it depends. I don't know the current cost of the chillers, but those are when they were purchased in like 2008. They were close to $300,000 each. So
Each?
yeah.
And does that include the boilers?
No.
So we have boilers, and I broke it down from looking it up on the web. Basically, you have the compressor, the valves, exchangers, and the ducting. And we have to replace valves at about $100 each, quite frequently because of our water. So that's an ongoing cost. Boilers are an ongoing cost every 3 to 5 years or so. And I did notice Miss Bowler's room has an individual system, just from observation. So looking at that, I'm wondering if maybe one of those compressors like Miss Bowler has would feed 2 rooms, and the cost of that, how it would be in comparison with maintaining our larger, more expensive system. I think it's something we need to get some figures on and take a look at and see what we can do with. It would be cheaper if something happened, obviously, to work with one system than a whole system. So I think those are the kind of things we need to analyze, and that's what I've tried to point out. And after you review that, we'll discuss it the next meeting, and I think we need to make some determinations of what's going to go on or not.
Thank you. And if you have any questions on these items, I can definitely add some input to them. But other than that, and take your time if you need to finish reading something here. But I don't have anything else to add unless you have questions.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Yeah, so on my report, I talked a little bit more about how we're handling the closure and teaching and still providing learning. If you have any questions, I'll gladly answer those, but I think I covered most of it on the special meeting we had last week. A couple new things. Brad Neal had the idea, and so we started going forward with it to provide plant starts for summer gardens to the community for free. It's pretty easy for us to use the greenhouse and get those starts going, and the cost of seeds are cheap, and so we've already gotten a great response on that. I think we had 35 people requesting numerous packages of starts, so we're excited to offer that to the community when they're ready. We'll be planting this week, hopefully. The other thing, we had last meeting we talked about the need to decide what we're going to do for graduation. On my report at the very bottom, it has some ideas that I received from community members and staff, and I'll just quickly go over them. First one is, and we talked about some of these last meeting, but so there'll be a review. First one is hold graduation on the football field and try to keep people separated. Obviously, would be some difficulties with keeping people separated, but that's one of the ideas. Another was to have a graduation parade down Main Street where each student was in their own vehicle and delivered diplomas at the end. Another one was to use an online graduation program, which would allow us to still have speeches and people could all tune in and allow the kids to still move their tassel over and kind of make it more official. And the final one, somebody mentioned that other schools are printing off large posters of the students and putting them along like a street, the main road in town, and that's kind of one of their graduation ideas. So those are the 4 main ones that we've discussed. So we'll have to kind of line that out and iron that out fairly soon. My preference would be to do the online one. It just kind of provides more opportunities to keep it as close to what it was before. Still let valedictorians speak and do that kind of thing, and everybody could sign in at the same time, and we could do it live if we wanted. Which would allow it to be a little bit more personal than it would be otherwise. So,
would we still give them their diplomas? I mean, would we span it throughout the day where we could still give them their diplomas?
Like what the board's role would be in this situation?
Yeah, so if we did the online, I guess we could film it ahead of time and have them come collect their diploma. That would be an option for sure.
I would be willing to do that if that was something that we could do.
Definitely.
I mean, because if we gave them the whole day to come in and do it, more than likely we wouldn't have a huge rush of a whole bunch of them at once.
Well, we would probably have to, depending on the restrictions, we would have to give them a time and spread it out for sure.
Or let them sign up, for a time.
Yeah, just give them a list and they can tell us what time they want. Sure, that would be great.
Let the parents take the time to film the child. If we're going to do it like you're suggesting, could there be a master and make a disc and perhaps just hit the cost of the disc back?
For sure. Yeah, in fact, if you do it online, you can just post it to YouTube and give them all the code and so they can sign in. We could also make discs of it and give it out. And the cost would be minimal. We wouldn't need to charge, I don't think. So, Jason's back there just itching to do it.
From a safety point, I think that's the best one. I don't like the idea of everybody being in their vehicles because we got a chance of an accident then.
True. So you guys have a preference? It sounds like I hear your preference. How about the rest?
I think online is the way to go. Online too.
I think we could really do a lot of cool things. Andy Forey and Jason both are very skilled in that sort of thing, and we can make it. We can make it a cool experience, I think.
We could record them all getting their diplomas too and putting that
definitely.
in the same alphabetical order. And
what I think we would probably do is kind of do most of it ahead of time, like the slideshow. You could still do the slideshow and have them give their speeches ahead of time when nobody else, so there's not a group there, and then individually get their diplomas and then put it all together and kind of show it live in the evening, and then they can move their tassel over when it's official and make it more of a, kind of what we've done in the past.
Well, it's something they could watch with their families at their own government, however they want to govern their safety issues or whatever.
If they want all their family there, that's their choice, for sure.
I don't think we necessarily, I know Carson wants to give the diplomas away. We are to stay 6 feet away.
Yeah, I understand that.
I don't see any reason to particularly do that myself. If we're still with the restrictions.
Right, yeah, if we have the restrictions like we do now, I don't know if we could do that, correct?
Frisbee it to them, but that's probably not quite right.
True. Well, and that's one thing, if we choose to do it this way, then we can kind of wait and see how the restrictions go. If they ease up, and then we'd have a little more freedom, and we can kind of make that choice last second if we wanted to.
Have all the requirements been met? Have the state waived everything? Or is there going to be a need for some summer school?
The seniors, we have 2 that have some work to do, but they're working on it, and they should be good by the end. There will be Summer school offered, hopefully, for underclassmen that need credit recovery, but the seniors should be good. All right, that is all I have, unless you have questions.
Thank you. Mr. Hutchins?
What kind of credit recovery the underclassmen? So it's like if they haven't done it?
Yeah, so say they failed second semester of English their freshman year, then they have to make that up to graduate. And it's an online program that they sign into. And we allow them to make up 1 credit a summer. And then we do have some students who during the regular school year are making up some classes as well.
So I guess this would be then, how are we doing? Do we have any kids that are in trouble of losing credit?
Because of the situation?
Yes.
I don't
The
think
teachers would
so.
notify you.
Yeah, I don't think so currently. The teachers are not. We've talked about it as a staff, and the goal is not to make it hard or grade harshly. I don't want to say it's just give them a good grade, but I mean they're not being picky. We'll say that. Just trying to get kids learning and making sure they're still trying and maintaining where they've been and meeting the standards that we're required to meet. So. I haven't looked at every kid's grade, but I have had some parents concerned about grades, and the ones I've looked at, the grades have gone up since we've done this.
Mr. Miller's having a meeting tomorrow morning where he's going to be talking to his staff too, and he can remind them there. I think it's a good idea to remind them to notify you of anyone who looks like they're on track to not get their credit this semester, and then we can try and do some things to help them, some interventions. If needed. But it's a fine line to get that accountability. We still want the accountability, but we know this is new and it's stressful for everybody. So it's a balancing act. So far they're doing well, and you can please let me know if we have students. We're small enough that we can really target and help kids if needed.
We do have some that have, like we talked about last time, difficulties with the internet. And so we've been working on sending out packets for them to get there. Jennifer was calling some families for me today, just seeing where they're at and checking in on them. And for the kids that haven't done a lot of work or any work.
I know some teachers are doing a really good job of like holding video chats, and they have certain times set up. And that's working out really well. And I know the parents really appreciate that those teachers are doing that, but I think we have some teachers that aren't, and they haven't had like hardly any contact with those kids. So you might, in your meeting, encourage
That's on the list.
getting contact with their kids.
I just made that a requirement, was it the start of last week, where they all needed to have some kind of video chat during the week. It kind of brings up some difficulties with some of the classes like PE, who that video chat's probably not going to be well attended. So the teachers that I've given permission to certain teachers who need to only do it, set up the time and check with the kids to see if anybody wants to do it that week, and if they don't get any response, then they don't have to.
I would think it's mostly your core classes.
Correct. The core classes,
teachers that need it. That's the one. I mean,
the core classes all gave me times of when they are doing it.
I know English and math are doing it. At least my kids are.
Yeah.
Participating in
Social
those.
studies was doing it today, I know.
Mrs.
that's what I
Baldwin.
say. I think a lot of them are doing it, and it's working out well. But I have heard from a couple of parents that are like, my kid has never heard from their teacher. It's mostly in junior high, so I don't know. Both of them are in junior.
If they haven't heard from them, we probably have the wrong email address or something that regard. So if you ever hear that, have them email me,
Okay.
and we'll make sure we have everything correct and line it up.
Sounds good.
If there's an issue with the FaceTime, you can always do just a plain phone
Definitely.
call, and we can verify to make that really should go back on the teacher to make sure, if they're not getting anything from these students and they're not sure if they have the FaceTime down, then a phone call would definitely be appropriate. And we have aides that can help with these phone calls and things, and secretaries. So yeah, I think doing those things like he mentioned, and then also, just plain phone calls in some cases would be great.
We have, along those lines, the list that Jennifer was calling today were students that we've tried to reach and the phone numbers weren't working, or we needed to put more time into it. So they'd all been attempted to be called.
Good,
So
good. That's real good.
by the teachers.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. President, you have my report there. I don't really have anything to add at this time. We don't have any of those exciting things like Mr. Miller has. We just decided to not do our kindergarten graduations. That's what we're doing.
We're not looking, on that note, we're not looking at doing anything for 8th grade graduation, correct?
Currently, no.
Okay.
Unless you tell me otherwise, I guess, but I'm not planning on it.
Technically, it's a promotion, not
Yeah.
That is true.
A lot of schools do not do that anymore. So
Yes. I noticed on the bottom of yours, Mr. Hutchins, we're still looking for some people for next year. Do we have any leads?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
But things weren't all together to get it on this meeting. So in the next board meeting, we should have some personnel. That's my goal.
Very good. Thank you.
And things could be different next year too, so we need to think about our personnel and what things are. So just a reminder about that, and it's still relatively early. It's April.
Yeah, it is.
And so that's what it is.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchins.
Thank you.
Mr.
My report is probably even less exciting than Mr. Hutchins. But you're welcome to ask questions about anything I have on there. I did want to point out, though, I'm kind of excited about our open enrollment for our insurance. We're doing it all online, and so there's some things that we're doing differently this year than we've ever done in the past. We've created a video that will go out, and that, by the way, all these materials and links will go out a little bit later in this week. We've just about got everything ready to go. We've got a video that kind of gives them an overview. They just have to click on it in the email that they're going to get. And then there is also a link, will be a link in that same email to a benefit guide that we've just customized for Joseph City that we put together and really nicely professionally done. And then the actual sign up, the enrollment in the plan, everybody has to do it, even if it's a renewal of the same plan last year, just because our benefits have changed somewhat, and that is mainly with the family coverage and the family benefit, and therefore you want everybody to look at that again, and so we're requiring everybody to do it, but it's all online in the form of it's actually done with SurveyMonkey, believe it or not. So they click on it, and then there's a series of, I think it's about 14 questions that they have to answer, and when they're done, it goes back and gets comes back to us and gets tallied up. And then what we'll do is once we've reviewed those, if there are problems or something that doesn't make sense, then we'll make personal contact with them by phone. We also will give everybody the opportunity, the option, if they do have questions, to either email or call into the district office. Email is generally better because we're not everybody is there all day with the restrictions that we have right now. So they can call in and we can help them through that process if they're struggling, with the online thing. And then if they have particular questions about their benefits and that's something that we can't or aren't qualified to answer or help them with here, we'll set them up with a phone meeting with some experts at our with the insurance folks that we deal with, that they can have basically a one-on-one over the phone. So I hope it works out. It's kind of interesting to do it this way, but we're doing all we can to make sure that it's as easy as possible for employees. So that's my report. Unless you have any questions.
You know, Steve, I did watch that whole video and I did look at that pamphlet, but my eyes are getting older. I can see that pamphlet very good. So I'm just wondering if there's any way we could maybe print a couple of those out, because I tried to print it, but it wouldn't work right. So I'm just making sure everyone can actually see that benefit guide, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's particularly if you're looking at it on a device, a smaller device, it would be more difficult. So, probably the ideal way to look at it would be on a full size screen if they have that available. The other thing they can do is they can, if you're, now I'm not sure what your issue was, but I know I've tried it and tested it and others, and it's a PDF file, and so they should be able to print it out. But if they can't, they can certainly contact us and print it out for them, and make arrangements to get it to them. So we're just trying to for most people, we hope that works out. There will be some that it won't work out for, and then we just can help them out with their specific needs.
Yeah, I thought the video was very well done and very informational. It was good.
We can have the secretary get a pamphlet to both principals,
Sure.
maybe, Steve, if that.
Or they could print it out from their desk computer. The principals can. I mean, it's all online. Desk computer. And if you can't, then let me know, because there's a problem that we've got to fix at our end. Let me know, because there's a problem that we've got to fix at our end.
So let's make sure that all of the people that need to see that can see
Right. That's the idea.
another.
Right. That's the idea.
Jason? Do you have anything to report? And
They, I'll say some things about our technology. As you know, how important this is, and when we're doing remote learning and things like this, both the principals are working to provide devices to any students that don't have them, as you're well aware, I think, from messages that have been sent out. So we appreciate that. There's also what they call hotspots with the internet that students who don't have it, we're trying to provide access to. And even on the reservation, I see where they're doing some things out there. So that's great. And I'm glad we had what we do have set up, because it really everything's been addressed. I don't think we're lacking in any area right now as far as technology in our learning. Everything seems good. So,
from my understanding, we're doing a lot better than a lot of other schools because of their lack of technology that we have.
Yeah, some internet companies are stepping up to do things, but we have pretty good service, I guess, where we're at. So.
Yeah. Do you have a report for
Mr. Neal? If he provided one, it looks like it wasn't added. It's pulled off a school dude every month is how he does that.
I should have added, Brian, part of my report, he asked me to talk about those starts. That's one thing that he was working on. So I think you had asked him to talk about it. And so that was part of his report that he asked me to cover.
Yeah, the work in the greenhouse, it's been big.
I've been seeing them fix some sprinklers, and there was a pipe to our garden that broke during the winter that they fixed. I saw them fixing that.
They're just going through replacing all the filters.
Yeah, that's.
They're planning some parking lot work here coming up, and he's had to share his employee who's getting cross-trained. The one employee he has is getting bus driver trained, so that's been one thing. He probably.
It's possible that there haven't been any submissions through School Dude because of the people being gone. That may be why. School Dude, because of the people being gone. That may be why.
Possibly. So,
one of the things that I meant to ask you during your report, Mr. Fields, is the electric car charger. Are we station, is that still in the process?
Yep, it's on track. They had a little hang up when they, since you were there, you might have seen they have like this 3D radar thing that measures everything that they set up. Somehow the data they collected was misplaced, and they had to come back and do it last week, a week ago, last Friday. Anyway, so that I think slowed things down, but other than that, we're still on track.
Okay, great. Okay, our next is call to the public. We have 2 people signed up, Bob Winter and Jennifer Westover, in that order.
Yeah, and we just would want them to speak into the microphone for the folks tuning in at home.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm familiar with speaking to you. It seems like I never get a chance to. So anyway, what I'm concerned with now is for both Mr. Miller and Mr. Fields, I'm pretty sure that Mr. Bushman is swamped because of the circumstances in trying to get things together for packages for college and for all the different things he has to do in that manner. If there's a way that you can accept volunteers to help Mr. Bushman develop these packages, file or whatever, I think that would be in order. He's got a lot to do with how many grants he has to put together. And if we can help, you and I have talked about doing research for further grants in other areas. So I just wanted to bring up this time that I'm available to assist with that, Mr. Bushman, any way I can, because I think we could put a sample package and allow someone to come in and assemble it for him, as he's quite busy at this period of time. So that's all I wanted to do.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that.
I always think it's a good idea to come and talk, and then I get here and listen to you guys, and I'm like, I don't have anything really good to say or helpful to help anybody. But so I know last board meeting that it was put out for cheer and for cross country to be approved for the next year, and cheer didn't get approved, but cross country did. And I wasn't able to be here, so I don't really know what the purposes or reasons for that was, if it was all money or participation, or what the reasons were for that. But I just want you to kind of maybe double think about it. I don't know if anybody ever goes to any of the football games. I know I see some people there every once in a while, but I don't know if you've seen what the cheerleaders have been doing and some of the participation that the kids have been giving back to them in the past year, so it's been a little bit better. I know a lot of people don't like cheerleading or whatever. It is fun, it's something different, and I think some of the girls enjoy it for that reason, because it's a little more laid back and just it's way different than, cheering for basketball or something where it's a little bit more rigid practices, I guess. But I was just kind of disappointed that cross country got accepted and not cheer. And because if it was for financial reasons, then maybe neither one of them should have been accepted when there was 2 of them up. Especially when I put out the sign-up sheets and I had over 20 for cheer and we had maybe 14 for cross country, and either sport, if you had 5, not come out for it, because that usually happens. Kids just sign up just to put their names on the list to make it look good, or they change their mind or whatever. I think cheer would still have the bigger number than cross country, but I did it last year. I volunteered, which I was happy to do because football season starts and I can't stand it. It's fun for me, and I love football season, and cheer was always so fun during football. And I have Andrew Andrea Miller already wants to help, and she feels the same way. Football is just so fun to just all the way around. So I just putting it out there for maybe for you to rethink it. I'll be happy with your decision. Well, I probably won't be happy, but I'll accept your decision no matter what you decide to do, because I'll be sad. I was sad last time, but I got over it by volunteering. But I don't know if I would do that again, just because some of the girls get hard to handle. Some of them, most of them aren't, but there's always a couple that like to stir the pot and probably just about anything. But what I have to say, because I was really sad that, two of them were up for it, and maybe, I don't know. I'm sure it's a hard decision either way, so that's just what I have to say.
Thank you.
And I appreciate her comments, and just want to let her know that the board is always welcome people to give input. So don't ever feel like whatever you want to share isn't. No, it's community's right to speak to the board, and they've always been welcoming to people. So thank you for the comments.
The next one is the consent agenda items. I motion that we approve the consent agenda items under 3A and B, clear down to executive session. There's several things in there. Okay. Do we need to discuss anything?
Just want to say thanks to Melanie.
Yes.
Really good job.
Thanks to Melanie and Mario. I think they've done quite a bit for our district. It'll be sad to see them go.
Appreciate what they did.
Yeah.
Okay, call for the vote. Rhonda?
Yes.
Dayton? Yes. Myself, yes. Jeremy?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yes.
Okay. Personnel requests.
Yeah, I can present these if you'd like, and then you can make a motion. Does that
Okay, yeah.
sound good? So we have two recommendations to hire for the board to approve the hiring of these people. The first one is a CTE teacher, ag, and automotive
Welding.
and welding, just welding and
Welding and ag.
yeah. It's hard to finalize every single class at this point, but that's it's going to be in the CTE area. And the other person here is for science and at the junior high school. So if you'd like to make a motion, we'd love to have you approve those.
I motion that we approve Dustin Fish and Jess Bushman as junior high school teachers for the next school year.
I'll second.
Okay, call for the vote. Dayton? Myself, yes. Jeremy?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Okay. Action items. A.
I'll let Mr. Mills, if he would.
Thank you. Contract renewal for the amendment of our food service management company, for the amendment of the contract with Southwest Food Service Excellence. And this is something that the Arizona Department of Education requires us to do every year is a contract renewal amendment. And most of the changes are minor, but what they do is in the amendment is they update report mainly on the financial performance, because that they estimate that for 5, sometimes up to 5 years in advance, and so we like to update that to better match reality every year. So that's mainly what's in here. Plus, they have to renew some of their attestations about not lobbying about different things that are required under federal law. So that's what this is about. So this is for the fiscal year 2021. We're anticipating a loss, again, like we do pretty much every year in that program. We do have to supplement it, the funding for that. And we anticipate a loss of $622. That's what SFE put to their contract. And so what that means is that as far as things that are under their control, they can't, that loss cannot exceed that amount, and if it does, they have to make up the difference. Now, if something were to change, like if there were, say, another minimum wage hike that we weren't planning on, or our district came in and said, we want you to run the program differently now, and it's different from what they had planned, then that may be something that would be out of their control. But that's the amount of loss that we anticipate. And the fee for managing our program, it will not increase next year. And this is basically their profit. This is their fee, is $6,745 per year to manage the program. All the other expenses, all the other amount that we pay to them are reimbursements for costs of the food and the overheads, labor, and so forth that just flows through. And it's a simple reimbursement. So again, what they make off of this, their profit is for next year is $6,745. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if I can.
All right, so we're asking for a motion on this.
I motion that we approve the FY21 contract renewal with Southwest Food Services Service Excellence.
I'll second it.
Okay. Call for the vote. Myself, yes. Jeremy?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Dayton?
Yes.
Okay. B, I motion that we approve the modification of Jcusd employees' performance pay plan due to the cancellation of the AIMS and AZ merit test.
I'll second it.
Okay.
If there's any discussion, just let me know.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Oh,
All we're doing here is just changing. We're not changing how much they're getting paid. We're just changing how it's getting defined, what they get. Because you have to, if I remember right, for this plan, you have to go through and they have to be, what's the word for it?
The goals have to be measurable.
Right, have to be measurable goals. And we've lost measurable goals because we don't have these tests. So we're just coming up with some other measurable goals for the teachers. Is that what?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
that's a good point. Jeremy?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Dayton? Myself, yes. I motion that we approve the governing board resolution regarding the Joseph City Unified School District closure for the remainder of the 1920 school year.
Yeah. If there's any questions, a printed out copy of this is available for you there, and it's of course on your tablets. So it basically reviews, how we're paying people and the remote learning and things of that nature.
So that they're still making the same that they were, not losing pay. Eldon?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Dayton? Rhonda?
Yes.
Okay. Confirmation of the next regular board meeting, May 12th at 6 p.m. Do we have any conflicts, or are we good with that? I motion that that's when we do it. Do we have to second that and go, or just?
Yeah.
Do we vote on that?
Seems like we have in the
Okay.
past.
Dayton? Rhonda?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yep.
Myself, yes. Jeremy?
Yes.
Okay. And I motion that we call the meeting to an end, the time being 6:56. Okay. Rhonda?
Yes.
Dayton? Yes. Myself, yes. Jeremy?
Yes.
Eldon?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you don't have time to sign the vouchers tonight, we can have you sign them later.